welcome to the Natural Healing Reel. I'm Jackie. Today is part 2 with my interview with Sandy Levey-Lunden. Did I say that right? I always...
Sandy Levey-Lunden.
Levey-Lunden. Okay.
Right.
She is our life coach pioneer from the 80s and has been an international speaker and relationship counselor for more than 40 years. Her credentials include being the creator of The Power of Clearing. We're going to get into that today. The method, and has released a book called I Just Want Peace.
That's it. We just want peace.
Welcome, Sandy. Thanks for joining us again. So we were getting into all kinds of education and great chats on our last session, and we're going to pick up today, and you're going to share some more valuable information with us.
For sure.
So I'll give you the floor. Where do you want to start?
We were talking about we have something in common that many years ago you bought an original Rife machine and I bought one, and I hope to, and I also put mine away after several years just like you did. And I understood that it had, countless settings for healing yourself. And people used it, and it was only for personal use if you own one. And now the FDA in America approved this machine several years ago. And after it had gone through 2 years of coming from a very advanced Rife machine called a time waver, which weighed 40 pounds and cost about $25,000. So the original people who had this machine were healers and therapists and psychologists. And they knew that very few people in the world would ever buy one of these machines or devices because it was very heavy, 40 pounds, and it cost $25,000. So that left out a lot of people in the world who couldn't afford such a thing. So this man named Marcus Schmilke in Germany, with a team of quantum physicists, decided to take this technology and condense it into something that is very small, called a Healy, which people could wear. And you could actually wear it, and nobody needs to know you actually are doing a whole series of frequency vibrations into your body, mind, and spirit for the purpose of healing you. The FDA in America, which is very hard to get them to approve something, approved it for pain and approved it for emotional conditions, like depression and anxiety. So that's what my understanding is, that they approved it for that, and physical pain, which a lot of people have physical pain in many places.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited to say that you have just bought a professional model, which has a lot of settings. I mean, I think it's quite almost 1 million settings, including like a revitalization setting, which moves towards activating your own stem cells.
Wow.
So when I wake up,
wow. Actually, that's huge.
It's huge because a lot of people would love to have stem cell therapy. This is activating your own stem cells to awaken. And, the more older we get, the more our stem cells die, actually, or are not functional, or they are not really working. So this activates all healing potential in the body. And I was saying that, I use it on my dog because I have a 17-year-old dog that I never considered old. And I don't consider myself old. I'm 77. I'll be 78. I feel I'm a timeless being, and I never think about growing old, or I never think of myself as old. A lot of people think of themselves as old, and so they go in the direction of their thoughts. Our body manifests in the direction of our thoughts. And the same thing about the dog. I don't think of the dog as old either. I think of her as timeless, and that she and I are going on forever until we're not. And I always say, I'll be retired when I'm resting in peace. So I never have an intention to retire, because how would someone retire for something they love doing? So
yeah. Why would you give up a passion of
yeah, I will never give up a passion.
I'm with you. Well, so can you explain how this Healy machine works to somebody like, so people that aren't familiar with the Rife machine?
Okay, I'm gonna show it first so everybody can see it. 1 second. Number one. See, it's very small. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So they wanted to invent these 10 quantum physicists. They gathered together $100 million to make it into this little thing and take those enormous amounts of scientific information and put it into this little thing, which works with your phone. So the program is in your phone, and it's being working with this at the same time, going right into this little Healy. And it's very simple to work because it does something, and we have all the instructions. It's not difficult because I'm not a mechanical person, and I can work with it. And I don't like anything mechanical. I'm more like a pioneer who belonged in Earth, and maybe in the pioneer times when we had covered wagons. I love that kind of life. But anyway, I'm willing to be in the modern world. And the only reason that I entered the modern world and got one of those unusual cell phones to work with it was because I wanted to operate this for other people who were not feeling well, who had pain, emotional pain and physical pain. So that's how I bought my first one. I bought it basically, I don't think I ever would have bought it for myself. I always would think of others for myself. That's something I've done since I was a little girl. I think of others before I think of myself. But once I saw what it could do on me, I was greatly impressed, and what it did on the dog. Like yesterday, I gave the dog power from the machine, and the dog walked from 12:30 to 1 o'clock in the morning, I would say a half a mile. It was out there for half an hour in the dark with a flashlight. And I gave the dog power and vitality. And that's what the machine said. In other words, this is the most amazing part. Every day in present time, it scans me and tells me what I need to do today in this moment. It would be different in 3 hours. But in this moment, this is where my body, mind, and spirit is. And then I just do the programs that it says. Is that interesting?
Totally.
It's simple. It's simple. And you could wear it. And there's a special device I put in it called a coil, which allows you to do countless numbers of these programs. So you could do it for 7-8 hours as long as you drank a lot of water, because it's changing the frequency of your body. It has to have water, and good water. That's the only thing it needs.
And that's really all we're doing all the time, is we're all energy, and we're all broadcasting. It's
Right.
just
We're all broadcasting.
what we're broadcasting.
Absolutely. We're all broadcasting. Here, you want to be in the film, sweetheart? Anyway,
Where she goes, get her up here.
yeah, she has to come in her own time. She's coming, and then I'll show everybody her.
17 years old for a little puppy. I love it. That's incredible.
Right. She is she's jumping up and down, and it's quite interesting.
I have a 13-year-old golden doodle, so I do lots of energy clearing on her because she assumes all of the energy.
That's right.
From all of us. And
That's
sometimes
exactly
she's just like hard and stiff, the poor thing. So
exactly. She is taking on the energy of everybody around you. I'm going to show you Daisy right now. She's now lying on her pillow.
All right.
Can you see her? Can you see her?
Nope. Got to go down further.
All right. Okay, now I lost you. Oh, okay. All right. Can't see her yet. Morgan will come in here. She'll show you Daisy. Morgan, can you show her Daisy? What are we looking for?
Oh, I was letting Sonia know something about Daisy.
Okay, here. Okay. Can you see her?
I can't see what you're seeing.
Oh my goodness. 17 years old. Hi, Daisy. Hello, sweetheart. Wow. She's got a beautiful coat. That's incredible.
She's my baby.
She doesn't look 17 years old.
No, she's
got
not.
One eye that's a little bit larger.
Yeah, that's true. She came with that.
She came with that. That isn't an old age thing.
No, she came with glaucoma in one eye, and I didn't know that she had cherry eyes and that there was something to do about it. So I spent thousands of dollars on her, of all kinds of things to heal her, and the Healy did more than anything that I used. I'll just be honest. Anything that I used, any vet, anything, the Healy did more.
So what you do then is it scans your body, and then it tells you what programs you need to bring yourself into balance so that you feel good.
Right. That's exactly right. The word
we all need one of those.
Yeah, everybody should have one. That's why they invented this little one that everybody could afford. And it's in Canadian price now. And it opened in Canada in September. Maybe it was end of August, but people can now buy it there and own it there. And yeah, I have a lot of friends who bought it. And as I said, I would never return it. It's like, it's such an incredible tool, especially like, say you reach a moment where you feel exhausted or you're getting a cold. Then when you're getting a cold, you can put on immune, then defense system, then release, if you're in a big emotional pain.
And then does it tell you when this program goes off, are you good on that then?
Exactly.
Wow.
It gives you a signal, and it also tells you how many minutes the program normally is. And say the program says it's 56 minutes, and it's 56 minutes, and but in your body, even though the normal program is 56 minutes, in your body it might be 44. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right. So it'll tell you when it's done.
Cool. Well, I'm very excited. And of course, the half price thing, we were giggling about that, right? It'd be wrong not to buy it.
Right. It's on sale right now at half price, and we can order it for you. We help people sign up for it because, some people don't work computers, or it's just easier when two people go through a whole site there and sign up, So if anybody wants to do it, they can call me. My home number is 360-527-2796, 360-527-2796, and we can walk them through it and have it work. And it works especially with the power of clearing, because the power of clearing is exactly the same idea: to release whatever someone is holding in their cellular memory, their guilt, their fear, their anxiety, their worry, the trauma. That's exactly what it does. And so when I use this in conjunction with the clearing, the person's getting a clearing right now in present time of their emotionality, which I always call a cellular shift. In other words, the clearing actually goes so deep into someone's emotion that it actually clears the cells. So if they had the Healy on with it, they would be getting a double clearing.
And so is that hard on our body? I remember doing the advanced Joe Dispenza course down here, and when the cells are dumping all of that toxic memory that we've been holding, that makes us very sick. It's almost flu-like. I felt a little flu. Well, I guess they were calling it the Dispenza flu because everybody was a little not feeling well just because they were purging. And can you speak about that a little?
Yeah, I've actually never experienced that with the Healy or the clearing, as long as you drink water.
Well, and you're talking, okay. Well, that's interesting.
In other words, you have to drink, if you're going to do this kind of thing, you got to drink 2 liters. If you're going to do the Healy and you're going to do the clearing, then you got to drink 2 liters of good water. And some people could say that it's any kind of good water that, most people would think maybe it's a reverse osmosis water. Some people would think it's a Kagan water. There's all kinds of waters, but certainly not water from the sink, even though many people say that's okay water. But for this kind of clearing, it would be better to use a different kind of water other than from the sink.
Yeah. What was that second water system that's like the metal bins with the charcoal in them?
Yeah. So a lot of people use a Kangen water, and a reverse osmosis water would be very good if someone had heavy metals in their body. People would say that our naturopaths, that one of the best waters they could use would be a reverse osmosis water.
We bought this one. I can't think of the name of it. Of course, it's at my other place, and just had these big charcoal filters in it, and you just put the tap water. And I'll tell you what, cleaning those charcoal filters and what is left from the tap water is absolutely sick. It's gross. So what you're saying is very true. We need to be, filtering our water, I believe, because
I filter my water, and I filter the dog's water, and I filter everybody's water who comes in my house. Yeah, absolutely.
Where did the metals come from in the water? What is that from?
I would say that I don't know that much about that, but I would say, like, I recently went to a very well-known naturopath actually this week, and he said, it's really important that you filter the metals out of your body. How it got there, we really don't know. It could have been from anything, could have been from the environment, could have been from anything. But the right water would be helpful. It
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Yeah. Makes sense. You're trying to clear and clean up your body, right?
Right. I mean,
You want clean, clear water.
yes, eating good, healthy food, taking good vitamins and minerals. I mean, I do all those things.
Yeah.
But the main thing that I'm doing is clearing my thoughts.
Okay, so
Main
let's
thing I'm
talk
doing,
about this. Let's talk about this because you do this as a for people, this clearing us. So can you
right,
let's talk about
right. One thing, can you hear me? We're getting a little static now. Okay. One thing that is important here is I never language anything I don't want to create. So languaging what I want to create is important in the way, nothing negative. So it's always a positive. Like now to say, in other words, you hear a lot of people, if you say to them, how do you feel? Well, I don't feel half bad, or I feel not too bad. See, now the unconscious picks up the word bad, and it's going right there. So you can't say that. Most people are afraid to say they're feeling pretty good, they're feeling better, or they're feeling like they're excited, or they're happy, or they're joyous, because they feel guilty saying that to somebody in case they don't feel the same way. They almost feel guilty to feel happy or feel good. And I noticed that, it's like we're programmed to be in pain and suffering because we're used to it. And if we say we feel good, we're worried that we'll be taken.
true.
Yeah. So it's very important to be honest with yourself, in the sense of being willing to say, I feel good, I'm doing well, I am working on moving to joy or whatever, but none of these negative ideas of I'm feeling not too bad. That is kind of one of the worst things you could say.
Yeah, and I've noticed that things were manifesting very quickly right now. Like with
Oh,
you
absolutely.
talk about something and all of a sudden it's whatever you were talking about is appearing.
Right. We're manifesting, I think, at a speed that is so potent at this point that what we're saying and what we're thinking has the potential to manifest, which means in a positive way, we can create the intentions we want. And we've got to be clear, what are our real intentions? What do we really want to create? What is really important to us, as opposed to what is a good idea?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
we have loads of good ideas, loads of different ways we could see things, but what do we really, really want from all our heart and soul, our true desire? And the Healy even has settings for manifestation that helps a person manifest. I'm going to be on one of those podcasts tonight on the Healy, how to manifest using the Healy, because it's a frequency medical device, basically. It's the world of frequency medicine. And everything is traveling, just like you said, so fast. We are moving so quickly. And you probably noticed, and I noticed, time is going on so quickly.
Well, and Greg Braden and the scientists, they show that everything's secular, and they're stating that we're at the highest vibrations that we've ever experienced, ever.
Yes.
And so, when things feel intense and they feel all of this, it's because it is.
It
You're
is.
not
It is.
you're not just imagining it or feeling.
No, it is. It is a very intense time. It is a very intense time. I couldn't agree more. It is a very intense time.
And so we can go one way and be like blah blah blah, or we can go the other way and embrace it and really get some things going for ourselves.
Right. We've got to be, all of us, in as clear a positive vibration as possible. And that's why it's all important for us to all have healing tools, whatever they are, whatever we're using. I was working with this 84-year-old woman yesterday who called me, and she said, I was feeling down. I fell. I was in tremendous pain. I didn't know who I could help, how I could get help, or whatever. I needed help. And she said, I remembered my tool that I learned Reiki, and I did Reiki on myself for an hour on all parts of me, and I was rejuvenated because she used her own tool that she learned. instead of just lying there and feeling I'm in so much pain, I don't know what to do, she resorted to her own capacities for healing. And we've all got to use all our tools. You know, the problem is that we forget when we are stressed. We forget we could try this on ourselves, or we could call this person, or we could do clearing. Because, you know, when people read my book, it actually tells you how to clear. I spent 10 years writing it over with 4 power over clearing coaches to get it into such a state where people could use it and clear.
I Just Want Peace. Is that the one?
Just one piece.
And
As I
you
said,
can
it
get
was
that on
very,
Amazon?
yes, you can get it on Amazon in Canada, United States. It was just launched and released on July 27th. And
Okay.
we're in our revised edition. And I'm going to get the book again to show you. I have it here again. And you know what? Since one of my friends is going to go to Vancouver on Sunday, actually, he's going to autograph a copy and bring it to you and send it to you, and maybe even actually bring it to you. And I'm going to ask Morgan to write down to get her actual physical address and her phone numbers, all of them. I'm going to send you an email now. And if you respond, that is very possible he will deliver your book personally.
Okay. How grateful am I today? I got myself a Healy machine, now I've got a clearing book.
I'm grateful to know you also, in the sense that I feel very uplifted by you and that we are on the same idea here. You know, how important it is to help others and help yourself, and to get into a positive vibration or a positive mindset or a positive attitude. And sometimes it's more than an affirmation, because sometimes if we have things to clear at an emotional level in our cellular memory, which we call the unconscious, or some people call it the subconscious, and we don't clear it, even when we make the positive affirmation, it doesn't take it the same level as if we did cleaning first or clearing first and then affirmed it. That would work at a much higher level.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And that's why I have the Healy, and we all have our own devices or our own tools. And that's the one I'm using right now. And I will use it forever. Because it is, I think this thing can go on forever. If anything happens to it, you call up and they show you the technology, what to press on it. Press this, press that, reset it, or whatever. So it's an incredible tool. And the fact that it's small is important, because it's not a big thing. When you get on the airplane, you can sit there for the whole time and do countless programs.
Wow, I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to receive it and do some work with it. So the clearing, I know for myself. So everybody, I think I've got an angel wing that's coming in behind me. I don't know if you noticed that.
I see.
I have angel wings that are on my fireplace, and so what's coming over my head there is the angel wing. So we're all going through this intensity with the energies that are quite high, right? I believe that a lot of people, not just myself, have been experiencing a lot of stuff coming up and turmoil, and not one thing, but multiple things at once.
Multiple things. I agree. There are multiple things happening in many people's lives.
Right. And so having a clearing, having somebody help you to help clear out the debris, I think it's really important, because I know just for myself, with knowing all of the tools and the work and this and that, sometimes we just we get lost, we get stuck, we get overwhelmed, right. And then we're in this energy space of, and I'll have it, even though I know to meditate in the morning and set my intention and to do the gratitude and to have some exercise and to drink, all of these things, to attend from the heart, stuff is still coming in at us. And, maybe I didn't, have we need to ask for a protection, from, just because the energy, we're driving and we're picking up people's energies that are angry in a car beside us. And then all of a sudden you're feeling, we're all one. And so somehow we need to protect our energies. And so what do you suggest for your clients for that?
Well, I suggest to become aware of one thing that I call triggered. Like if you get anxious, worried, fearful, feeling guilty, feeling attacked or defensive or sad, or just feeling that you're not yourself.
Yeah.
That means that you've been triggered. Even if you don't know what it is that's bothering you, you're not yourself. Therefore, it's absolutely, you have something to clear at an emotional level, which has probably gone into your cells and is in your cellular memory, or you're actually tapping into a cellular memory from when we're all basically clearing what happened to us in our childhood at some level. And it could even be in the birth, it could be in the womb experience. And some people could even say if they remember and they recall it in a past life. So whenever we're not ourselves, or whenever we're acting not the way we normally are, which is maybe loving, peaceful, harmonic, balanced, we have been triggered by something around us. It may not be obvious yet what it is, but at least we know we're triggered. And we don't want to answer anything important when we're triggered, like we're not going to decide we're going to get a divorce, or we're going to close our business, or we're going to leave now, because this is more like reactivation than it is choice. So if I make a choice when I'm reactivated in one of my emotional pains, or something that I don't even know what it is, it could be like this. When my grandmother died, there was a flowering gladiola at her head. So I could see a flowering gladiola anywhere I go and remember that incident, even though it's not conscious to me. So a lot of what we're remembering and actually coming up with may not be accessible in a normal way. But many times in the clearing, we can actually reach source material where it actually came from. A scene or an emotion that will go back to the original one. And that's why I love the clearing. It's like a puzzle. It starts out with your ego thoughts in a certain structure. What I want you to know, I think, feel, or believe something, which makes me feel something, just like when. Now, we never begin the clearing unless we have a clear intention, like I'm releasing all my fear from today that came up in reference to this and going to peace and joy. Anything we ever do, we always want to start with a clear intention, because that is so important. Intention does at least a quarter to a third of the process. Knowing where you're going, knowing what you want, knowing what your true desire is. So you're always releasing something and going to something in a positive way that you want. And then you use the structure. And it's written very clearly in the book, just like I said. When you don't have a coach and you do it yourself, then you're playing both your emotional side of your ego and your coach. Like the coach would say, thank you, which means I'm holding the space, a container for you to empty anything you think, feel, or believe in this certain structure, because it's very crisp, defined structure. Whereas the ego normally will take you in a story, circle and go on and on and on. This is very crisp and very structured. So you always end up in a clear idea in each sentence. So you got, say, 10, 15, 20 sentences, however many there are. Then you're going to go and you can clear about anything, why you didn't conceive the baby you wanted at that moment, or why you feel your boyfriend doesn't love you anymore. You can clear about anything. There, you can clear about your body. You can clear on an illness. You can clear on any kind of thought or any kind of physical reality that you think is happening to you at that moment. So it could be anything. And then you're doing forgiveness. So step 2 and step 3 are forgiveness steps, where you forgive yourself for thinking or feeling or believing. So it's one of those ideas, like what I want you to forgive me for, Sandy, that's me, for thinking that when your father screamed at you, it meant that you were not lovable.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm forgiving, that idea that I'm not lovable, not when my father screamed at me. And then the answer would be, thank you, that's not the truth. You are always lovable. You will always be lovable, and you have always been lovable, and you are love itself as your pure definition. So the answer always goes in step 2 and step 3 as a big T idea of the higher self. So you do a whole series of step 2s that matches step 1 of your ego thoughts from step 2. You're forgiving what it says about you, like forgiving the idea that you're not worthwhile, or forgiving the idea that you're not good enough, or you're forgiving the idea that you've never been cared about in the way you wanted to be, or forgiving the idea that you're not lovable or that you're not wanted. So you're forgiving anything that is a made up negative belief that you have said about yourself to yourself, what I call negative self-talk.
The perception, what we perceived as a little
Yes.
child, or what we heard from somebody whom was unconscious and not.
That is exactly right. What they said from somebody who was unconscious and spoke to you in a way that they had no idea that the effect it would have on you for many, many years to come.
Right.
Right. It's all perception. I'm forgiving the perception I made up about myself. The third step is remembering who I really am. Like what I want you to forgive me for forgetting that I am love itself. And I have always been love and always will be love. That is my true definition. I am love. And the coach will answer, even if it's you, thank you. That is the truth. You will reinforce the idea. You are love itself. You are pure love itself. And you will never be anything but love itself. And I love you. So, it's a whole series of steps. But when you finish it, you feel like you've cleansed if you've gone to maximum. And if you're using the Healy, you cleanse even at another level, energetically with the frequencies.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
it's powerful tools. And we all need tools because we need them when we forget and believe we are our ego, or we believe we are our emotional pain, or we believe we are our suffering. That's when we need to wake up and get who we really are.
Well, and we've all lived in a society that this is all that we know. That 5% of that consciousness where we actually are in the flow and we are connected and we do know, we know without a doubt all of that, right? It's not, that's not shared and talked about how to get that. What's talked about is, woe is me, the victim, and everybody, and it's what everybody knows, and it's just killing us. It's damaging us to such, like what you say. I mean, we're saying this and then we get to have more of it. And of course, we've brought that into our past, into our future. I know I certainly have. And then as soon as you look at it and you see, right, then that's more that I'm broadcasting, right?
Right. And we're broadcasting. In other words, everybody's collective energy of conflict, which could be with themselves, with their mother, father, brother, sister, their teacher, their job, has created what I call a projected environment of war. Because it's a small war. We're in a small war, each of us, with whoever we think we're in war with.
Yeah.
And so to me, the object is to clear that immediately so we come back to peace and know that's just a story that we made up. Even if it seems very real, it's still a story we made up from our childhood in most cases. I've never been able not to find it, where it comes from. So, and clear it at the level where it came from. So it just takes time. All these processes take a little bit of time. I could spend a little bit of time doing the clearing, or I could spend a lifetime going over the same thing and living out this nightmare, or this illusionary nightmare, or this hallucinatory nightmare. And many of us are living in a very, what I call dramatic triggered state in our lives. And this is if we don't clear it, it goes into our body. If we don't clear it from our mind and our emotion and our thoughts and our beliefs, the next place it's going is in our body. And it can become any condition, which we call, say, anything. Pain here. They can call it arthritis or anything. It could be any condition. And the first place to take it away from is our mind, our emotion, our thoughts, our feelings and beliefs. And maybe then it will relieve our body with it.
And then we will start to see our present situation shift, right?
We will see our present situation wholly different if we're clear.
Because we will casting something new, which then law of attraction brings us something new, right?
Right. And we will attract something completely new that is not in our space right now. It can almost be immediate.
So what happens if you don't get it cleared? Like, what if there's, people feel like they're cleared? Like, I've been through this process many times and thought, oh, like I've cleared it. And then obviously there's more, stuff that's stuffed down there. So back into the deep dive to find some shadow work for myself.
Yes. Here's what I would say about it. it's challenging to look at it from all aspects yourself.
Mhm.
That's why when I wrote the book, I listed probably 35 or 40 power of clearing coaches, maybe 50 all over the world, which includes myself. And everybody who wants to call, from the book, they see the phone numbers, they see the emails, we'll have a free half hour with one of these people. And it takes guidance to know, what are you really looking for? Now, maybe you cleared this amount last time, and now you're really at this level with it now. Oh, you got to look at this now. So it's like layers, peeling an onion. Healing is always going on. We are meant here to keep healing until we get completely out of our pain and we're waked up. And we know that when we've reached a state where we feel mostly without any pain, what I call it a joy or awakened love state. And then very few things are recurring. Right. And one of the things in the Course in Miracles was my process matches this book called A Course in Miracles. I think we spoke about that last time.
That book.
You have it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Most people have it, and sometimes they've read it a lot and they're not reading it now, but it is a piece of genius. I spent 30 years working with it. And one of the things it says, the 10 characteristics of the teachers, or you could call it the teachers of God. Another way to say God would be truth. So we could call it the teachers of truth, or the teachers of spirit alignment, or the teachers of true beauty. One of them is the first one that everything rests on is trust. That's the first characteristic. The second one is honesty. And that means that that what I say, what I think, what I feel, and what I do all match up. They're all consistent and congruent. So that's a truly honest person. In the same paragraph, it says this, that conflict comes from something you've deceived yourself about. And that's one thing that I look for in the power of clearing. Is there anything that I am not telling myself the truth about here that I need to look at, especially if I have conflict in my life? Have I deceived myself to even think that I'm guilty? Because I'm not. I'm innocent. And if I've made up that I'm guilty, that's a huge deception. If I've made up I'm guilty, I could actually act out my guilt and do anything. So in other words, if someone hit you when you were a child, you could have actually made up it's your fault, therefore you're guilty. If someone screamed at you, you could have made up it's your fault, therefore you're guilty. So I have to clear people of their guilt, their professed guilt, or their perceived guilt, or their made up fear, so that they're not attracting this at this level of experience. Does that, you know that. And so when you finish clearing whatever you cleared at the point you cleared last, then there's another obvious level, because we look into our lives and see what's happening. Now I have something to clear. I can see that. And it's not a problem. It's actually an opportunity to let go of more stuff so that I can be even more joyous about who I am in my existence. It's an opportunity. That's what clearing is an opportunity to let go and release and come forward to present moment. In the present, everything is beautiful. It's only in the past and the fear about the projected past from the negativity into the future that everything isn't beautiful.
Which is where most people are living.
Absolutely. They're living in the past and they're worried about it's going to be their future.
Right. And so that's where all that controlling, like people who are trying to control their situations,
Right.
it's got to be a certain way and very rigid. That's fear.
Yeah, that's fear. And,
Yeah.
I think we said last time, maybe we didn't, in the podcast, most of people's fear is what I call false evidence appearing real. That they have a fear that they think is happening, but it's really a false evidence. They think such and such is happening, but it isn't.
Well, it's usually like people thinking this could happen.
Right.
And
This
then-
could happen.
Yeah, and then they think it again, and then it starts to manifest, right? Start that
Exactly.
energy, those thoughts, and we've done it ourselves without even realizing.
Right. We are doing it to ourselves by what we're unconsciously thinking. And we don't even know we're unconsciously thinking it. And some of us are consciously thinking it by our negative self-talk. And that's something we all got to be aware of. Every time I'm doing negative self-talk, I got to stop it at the level of my mind, or at the level of my feelings, or the level of what's going on for me. so that I can fully be in the here and now and clear my negative self-talk.
Yeah, so this takes work. I've been working on this, and it's this is a process, and I really do believe that you need to have some help with this because
Oh,
we
I think
cannot see
everybody needs
ourselves.
guides.
We think
Everybody
it's
needs guides.
everybody else. You know, everybody's doing it to me, and that's a society thing, right?
Definitely. And that's why I put these power clearing coaches in the book, including me. People want to talk to me, they can talk to me about whatever they want to talk about, whatever they think is going on, whatever they're feeling, whatever they're believing. And that's why I gave everybody a free half an hour with every coach that's in this book. And that's a very important thing, to get help and to get guidance, because sometimes we can't see it because we're too close to it. It's too right next to us.
Well, and everybody else can see what everybody else is doing, but
Yes,
that
but
person, it's so ridiculous, right? You really need to find somebody like a friend or somebody who's on this journey. I have finally found that, and just to support and to, as you're going through and you're hitting these patterns, unconscious patterns of behavior that we break out into not even conscious, and then kind of find ourselves halfway through the behavior going, wow, okay, that was that. And knowing that you're supporting and lifting to help clear these old unconscious just and generational patterns.
Yes,
Right?
and actually the healing has a generational pattern clearing called epigenetics. It's an epigenetic pattern that came from your ancestors, and it has that in it.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It is, and I do know that I'm doing this stint that I've been in. It's been pretty intense and pretty nasty, and just really working through grief and all these, like the highest of, what do they say? Without the darkest night, you don't get infinite light. This is where, because, it's like, okay, instead of going to beating myself up about like, how did I get here again, right? So that's the negative self-talk I have. I failed, this marriage didn't work, so I failed. Like, it's this constant, even though I know I did my best and brought my best and did what I could, it just was, our paths were obviously going different directions or whatever was going on.
I would say like this: each one of you learned the lessons you were learning at that time, and you reached a point where you couldn't work together anymore in whatever lessons were clashing or being projected. But nobody fails at a marriage. They reach the lessons that they had at that point, and they stop or go on at a certain point. Some, it's like what they say about a relationship. Maybe not all relationships were meant to go on for 20 years. They each may have a destiny that you reach a point, unless you get the right help, you may not see how do you get through it. Yeah. And that's, why we want to have the best guides or the best facilities or the best therapists working with us, so we can see what is our part in it. Where is it that we're stuck? Most people think it's about the other person. And that's what most people think, that they did this, that person did this, but they never see, how is it me? How is it, not that I'm guilty, but how am I involved in it at any level? I'm innocent, so is my partner. Spiritually innocent. It doesn't mean that I'm not accountable for what I did and said, or if I did something that was not in accordance with purity or love. I am accountable, but I'm not guilty, spiritually guilty. That's a big thing. I can clear myself, and I can ask for forgiveness, and I can repent, and I can let go. I don't have to carry this forever. Yeah. And that is the key. Everybody can be committed to what I call cleaning and clearing. I'll tell you one funny thing, and then maybe we could end this. When I took the course to Estonia, and because the Estonian women didn't have much money, I actually paid to put the course on. It cost me hundreds of dollars extra that I would never have paid. Normally I get paid. This time I paid. I did it there 3 times. The Estonian people couldn't get the idea of clearing. They couldn't get that word. They didn't understand it. But they understood the word cleaning. They were all into cleaning. So they called my process the power of cleaning. And I was very amused by it. I finally gave up and I said, okay, let's call it cleaning, because that's what it actually is. It's cleaning.
It is. You gotta clean out the weeds so that you can plant your new seeds, right?
Right. Maybe next time we can talk about what we talked about the first time, which was how can we put this technology into the school systems,
Yes.
working with young kids and teenagers. How can we create either a podcast or a TV series or a Netflix or a feature film that will teach this clearing and cleaning and coming to true self that will attract people from a very early age. Maybe we can talk about that next time. What do you think?
Right, and I think we were going to talk about that this time, but we will talk about it next time because this has been one of my big topics of conversation. Is we should be learning this stuff in school. We're not learning any of it. You know, we need to understand. We need to understand, and the people that do understand, they want their kids to have an education that explains what's happening to them. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And we all do. We all do.
we all do. So I'm
So if everybody wants to, create a clearing in themselves and needs the tools, they can get my book, I Just Want Peace. And as I said, it's a #1 new release bestseller, an international bestseller in Canada, the United States, and the UK. Because
no,
I have a lot of people who I met in those places who studied with me. That's why those places are for sure going strong with my book.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's get that spread out there and let's get me all cleared and get me through this
Yeah.
finish this process I'm in so I can get to work on that on developing and having good vision for that's where I just put all my focus there on
All right.
on focusing
All
on where I'm going, right? What I'm going to create.
Right. I want to say like this. Shall we let go now
Let's
and
do
of
it.
the podcast? Okay. Should we
Okay,
sign out? And I just want to say a few more words to you personally about what we talked about.
sounds
Great.
good.
Okay.
Okay, till next time.
Till next time.